music. Should we dance as if the music's live?
Hello, welcome to Talking Utter Slot, the podcast about having fun with can't even get it right that first time. Right. Hello.
It's only his first time.
It was the coffee. I had coffee. It was a bad idea.
He's buzzing.
This doesn't bode well, does it? Might not even get the recording done by midnight. Never mind. Hello, welcome to Talking Utter Slot, the podcast about having fun playing with toy cars. The podcast is a year old, so this is something of a celebration.
And it's the end of the year, so it's a good excuse to look back on this actual New Year's Eve. I'm Nick.
And I'm Scott, and this is Talking Utter Slot. Cue the music. Nice.
Let's sing some Sting lyrics.
Sting lyrics. Is there an appropriate Sting song for slot cars? Put it in the comments if
Probably
you can think
not,
of one.
no.
I can't think of one.
I think he'd looked very disapprovingly at slot cars.
Maybe, do you think? I mean, your Rod's into his railways, and there must be a pop star into slot cars.
Well, the Beatles, obviously.
Rick Astley. I think Rick Astley's a
I think
secret.
they were paid a lot of money.
I think Rick Astley is a secret slotter. That's probably libelous. Right. So, one promise we're going to make, the patient and ever long-suffering listeners, is we're not going to talk about slot rally cars or slot rallies, even though we had one only days ago. So, promise we're not going to talk about that. We may talk about the odd rally car, but we're not going to talk about it too much. So, in the basis of mostly looking back,
yes,
when you cast your mind back, what does 2023 mean to you in terms of slot cars? I'm going to finish my coffee, like my mug.
In terms of slot cars, difficult. Well, I suppose for me, it's the ones that I've built. And I haven't counted those up because I think that would be a bit scary. Also, the ones that I've started and not finished would be even more scary. So I'm just going to park that aspect for now. And I think probably it's best because you're the shopper. You know, you're the man who goes out and just invests in the hobby, keeps the traders going. So what have you bought? How many?
Thank you for using the word invest and trying to sort of aggrandize what otherwise might be seen as a terribly bad psychological habit. Well, I thought it would be fun to go through my eBay purchases and various things and tot up what I'd actually bought in the year. And then I did that last night and got quite a surprise. I'm going to reveal the number in a little while, don't worry. And then I went out to the slot shed today and found a couple of others and went, oh yeah, I forgot about that one. So the things that swap meets and stuff, which I forgot. So I think I'm calling it 65. I'm calling it 65. Roughly split between brand new from the shops out the box and used eBay purchases. Now, the encouraging thing is the most expensive one, I think, was £69. And the cheapest one, I know for definite, because it was eBay, was £8.50. So So
what was it that made you hand out £69 of the realm? What was the thing that made you go, I need to invest £69?
£69. It was a team slot Lancia Stratos in a livery that hadn't been issued before in a nice gold box.
That one.
I can't remember the
Alitalia one.
It's Alitalia, but before Alitalia became the iconic sort of double E's and stripes, it was just green and white. And it's a lovely thing. And so yes, that was the. But to be fair, there was a couple that got close to that. I mean, the sideways car was probably the same, if not. I mean, a pound or two either way. Notice that you asked me about the expensive one and not the cheap one.
Well, I'm intrigued as to what it was that made you fling £69 of the realm at some poor trader and take
poor.
away part of his
Are they
stock.
poor? Are the traders poor? I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
Them and farmers.
As
Farmers with their new 4x4s lined up at every wedding.
Yeah, I've used this slide before. As Alan Gow said to me once, don't feel sorry for the poor rich people. But that's a blast blown any chance I've got to get a discount now, isn't it?
What, from Alan? He never had any chance of getting a discount.
So yeah, what did you say? I think I wanted that car. I like Stratoses. I've got a few, and it was and I think I've got a couple of the danger of that collecting dysfunction, isn't it? So I think I've got a Celica in a box similar to that one, which was before, and I think so. There may be a couple of these gold boxes. I don't know what the significance of the gold box is, other than extract more money from the customers. But the other thing to say is spending £70 on a slot car could just be good practice for next year. So maybe that's.
It sounds a bit that way, doesn't it? We're bracing ourselves for another price hike. Which is unfortunate. So, 2024, 2023, we can look back on as not as expensive as 2024 is going to be.
Well,
that was the highlight.
I'm certainly going to try and not buy as many slot cars, because the other thing that didn't happen in 2023 is I didn't sell any slot cars. So as a consequence, space is even more at a premium just to store the damn thing. So even if you've got the space, keep them, why sell them? I think there has to start to be some moving on, perhaps of old Hornby touring cars, which frankly I never liked at the time and I never use them now, and so stuff like that might get shifted on. But the danger is, you see, I'll dig it out of the box and I'll think, I'll just give it a quick run on the track, and then I'll go, oh, these are actually good fun, and then I'll keep it.
Well, you'll need to keep one for occasional nights at Farnborough Park if needed, because we do run the Scale Electric Brown Bar BTCC class.
Yeah, see, this is
which the cars of choice are the Audi A4 and the Renault Laguna.
Okay, they
seem to have the legs on most things, but my Vauxhall Vectra does all right for itself. It's just a nice class. It's a nice class, but if you're flogging off an Alpha 155 at any point, I might.
Do the wheels all fall off?
Invest. Yes, they do regularly. That's why we have axle mankers at the ready.
Axle mankers.
If you get the
axle
mankers,
yeah, we haven't talked about the Talking Outer Slot merch store for some time. I think axle mankers
we could sell
branded axle mankers. Now I'm hoping,
listener,
this is the point where Nick
the really jaggedy, teethy bit of a pair of pliers, and you just score the end and crimp the end of an old Scale Electric axle. And if you do that, then the super glue has something to bite on when you put the wheel back on. Ta-da!
Trade secrets. This doesn't happen at Slot It or NSR, I'm sure. I bet they don't have axle mankers. But then that's all the more reason for Talking Us a Slot merch department to have it. And one of the things I didn't get around to doing, because I was sort of interested in my own way, was what had I bought? What was it kind of, how had I divided between, Scaletric's, Carrera and Ninko and stuff? And I haven't actually done the kind of tally up. But one word which appears surprisingly frequently is Ninko. And given that they don't exist anymore, they're all old. So I bought a lot of Ninko cars. And they still seem
a lot for the brand.
Well, they still seem to be remarkably cheap. I mean, old Fly, old Scaletric's cars seem to be picking up money. Even old SC. I mean, one of the worst slot cars I ever encountered when new was the SCX in the Matchbox branded days, Toyota Celica. I mean, it was just dreadful. It was Tyco and then it was branded Matchbox, and they were just awful. And I think the then importer kind of offloaded them all to us for a few pounds. Hence the reason I've got a few. Even those are now going for 15, 20 quid.
Is that the Science era ST165, or is that the ST185?
It's the later one, the Castro livery, yeah. And there's a 7-Up livery, which is a very nice livery if it was, but it's anyway. They're fine, but they were the worst. Even those are going up from that price. And Ninko's are being, I picked up
SCX body. looks nicer than the Ninko one did of that car. But the chassis is terrible.
It's probably more in scale. The Ninko one was a little long, but it's a much better car. So I think that my campaign I probably shouldn't campaign because it'll stop me buying cheap Ninkos, but I think Ninkos are an underloved, underappreciated bargain out on the swap meet and eBay pages.
Yeah, I've got one Ninko left on my 6 cars from Satisfaction, which is the Mini Cooper, because it's my car that I've got sitting outside, so I should really have a slot version of it. And it's going to be, I haven't driven one, but I have driven a Scale Electric one, and I'm desperate to find a Ninko, which tells you what the Scale Electric one's like. So, yeah, and I would probably like another Dalla Villa Punto, the red one, at some point, but that's not on my 6 cars from Satisfaction list.
I think we have to expand on this because it may end up being the title of this program: the 6 cars from Satisfaction. Just I think the quote is just 6 cars from Satisfaction. So
yes.
Explain
I've got basically I've got all but 6 cars that are available that I want. So there's 2 George Turner kits that I want to get. There's 2 kits at Pendle I want to get. There's a Ninko Mini and there's a TA71 Ferrari Testarossa to finish off the Miami Vice set. Apart from that, I can't see anything out there that really I want. There's some stuff that I will probably do, like a Puma, whether that's Scale Electric or SCX. I don't know at the moment. I'm going to wait and see because we've heard a bit of something. Bad news. I'm sorry to end this way in 2023, Simon, but we have seen evidence of the fact that Gus Greensmith's car is the wrong colour, which is upsetting for everyone. Upsetting for Scale Electric because it's not the same colour as the car they showed. And it's upsetting for everyone who's been waiting for a long time for Gus Greensmith's car. And everyone that's waiting for Loeb's car is now, including myself, fervently praying that it's a one-off and it's poor Gus is driving a pink car on people's tracks.
So, I was going to say, explain. So it's the Puma WRC, or the World Rally car, technically Rally 1.
Rally 1.
Technically.
Rally 1 Hybrid is the official terminology.
Yeah, it starts to tell you everything that's wrong with world rallying. But anyway, so the Puma rally car. And so it's pink instead of purple?
Purple, yeah.
Okay. And
so the car that did the rounds earlier in the year, the pre-production one, mint. Absolutely perfect. Oh, but the production ones aren't quite the same colour.
This does seem to be not an unusual event where Scaletric releases are concerned, where the production car doesn't quite match the pre-production one, and not always.
Yeah, and it's like I wonder what would happen if the next run of Flying Scotsmen came out in lime green.
Well, I'm not a trainist.
There'd be blood on the walls.
Who knows? Maybe similar things have happened, and we're just blissfully unaware in our car-dominated world. But maybe the train folk are just as chewing their knuckles as much.
I think it would have made it onto the documentary. Somebody would have said, "Oh, remember that time in 1978 when they pulled out a lime green Flying Scotsman."
So your optimism about the editorial freedom of the documentary about Hornby. It's very touching. Very touching. You a lifelong PR man, and you still think that could be happen. Well done.
Dear. So for social realism, we've just got to do Drive to Survive. Is that the only thing I've got now?
Yeah, never mind. I think I've only ever watched bits of the thing, so I've not watched all of them. So I don't know how. I may be doing it a disservice. Maybe it's as hard hitting as Panorama used to be, but somehow I doubt it. But good for them. I mean,
Well, there were lots of people getting shirty
about
when I watched it about the products. There were traders getting shirty. There were buyers getting shirty. Airfix people getting shirty. Not so many Scale Extra people getting shirty.
Was this billed ahead of the program as mild not distressed. What do they say it? Mild, not mild. There's a word, I've forgotten it now. I want to say it, isn't it? They sort of say mild peril. Contains
Warning: scenes of train enthusiasts will be shown in the following
scenes of
program.
train enthusiasts suffering mild peril. I don't know. Anyway, we should pick. Well, because and I'm very unresolved, and not even in my own mind resolved. What was it? Because I know you're about to ask me of my 65 purchases this year, which was my favourite, which was my favourite car.
Do you know, Scott? A question has just sprung to mind. Which was your favourite of those 65 cars that you bought?
Well, I don't know. It's not very helpful and not very punchy for a soundbite answer, but because it tends to be whatever.
It's not time for soundbites. I can feel the hand of greatness on my shoulder.
But the Scalextric Escort Repsol WRC car, I have great affection for that car. It looks great.
It is a beauty.
It goes well, and yeah. So it's. I mean, I haven't really sat down and given the list any sort of consideration, and the listeners should count themselves lucky that we're not running a poll.
It wasn't altogether competitive in the deep waters into which you threw it last week.
Well, have we seen any results? Have we seen stage by stage results yet?
Yes, we have.
I haven't. Okay, yeah. I'm choosing to not acknowledge the reality. I think my recollection is that amongst my little group on the car park stage, which was blessedly smooth,
yes.
I didn't do too badly. I seem to remember giving the eventual winner a good grubbing on the car park stage, actually. So, of course, this bravado may not be backed up by the actual times recorded, but no, I think
it was good on that stage. And to be honest, I've had a good time with a good time. I haven't had a good time with.
I thought it was a whole different podcast again.
Yeah, quite. A Scalextric Audi Sport Quattro short wheelbase on that stage.
Just
not the wingy one, not the S1.
I was talking earlier about crazy prices paid for old slot cars. I was following on the B&V last week one of those very same Scalextric bewinged Quattros. Yeah. Guess how much it finally sold for?
Well, I sold one for 110.
Well, last week,
earlier this year.
Well, you did.
Earlier this year.
This went for.
Was I diddled? Was I done?
No. This went for about that money. But I mean, given that it's not a great slot car, and given that
it's a terrible.
There's an SRC one coming soon, which will be available for 90 quid, 100 quid, which will be both beautiful to look at and fantastic to drive. Why is somebody spending more than that? Anyway, but they are.
Well, yeah, I mean, the one I sold was a Mikola RAC Rally one, which was apparently a much rarer livery than the Earl.
Well, this is the other thing I don't get. Simon, if you're listening, just reissue some Quattros. If they're selling for 110, 120 quid on eBay, people will buy them. Well, I think I would. Not for that money, though, but for 50 quid, 60 quid, I would. Don't know how I went down that little.
Which is what we're going to have to get used to paying anyway. Yeah. So,
eBay, yeah. But then at the beginning of the year, I think we both independently did it, that we looked back to the old price list and got the old inflation index linked calculator out and found that actually cars today are, in real terms, the same as they were.
They're the same
40
price.
Years ago. So, yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah. My earnings are nothing like what they were 20 years ago, but the price of slot cars has gone up in line with inflation. So they were £25.99 when I came back to the hobby in 2002. They're £53 now. And if you go on to the inflation adjusted whatever thing website, you put in £25.99 in 2002, and guess what? It's 53 quid.
So there's one of two things that we have to learn from that. Either you need a new job, which is true, probably.
A new agent and a smaller family. Going on eBay will be several children.
But I'm not sure that's strictly legal. But I'll
okay.
I'll see what happens. Or we have to start making slot cars. That's Clearly, the
Well,
answer.
yeah, and
You are.
well, my plan for the four cross cars. And did you see that Fernando Alonso has bought a cross car? See, I am not the only one converted to the cause.
Again, just for the listeners, a cross car isn't sort of Lightning McQueen feeling unhappy. It's Can you paint a mental picture again? I think you've done this before.
Cross car is Cross car is a kart, but for off road. Effectively, it's the foundation step for young drivers wanting to go on to rallycross, rally, or autocross, and it's something that adults can race as well on a seriously low budget. So, Thierry Neuville, his Life company, manufactures them. There are about 20 other manufacturers across Europe making these things. It's like Formula Ford used to be in the 70s and 80s. So many different races, so many different age groups. And Fernando Alonso had a bit of a play in one, thought this is good, so he bought one of Thierry's new TN11s, which are the sort of leading edge of modern cross car design. The ones that I'm modelling are TN5s that we used for the FIA Cross Car Academy. And I'm using power slot quad bikes for the running gear, because I didn't find, they were the club's old lane cars. We had quad bikes for end of the night races, which everyone gave up on. So we sold them, and I bought the whole lot for £10, I think.
You did well. You should have put them on eBay because they go for quite a bit of money. The rest of the club don't.
I'd rather make cross cars.
The rest of the club don't listen. They'll never hear. Before you told me, though, again looking back, that you reached a significant milestone in your, shall we say, dedication to slotted Porsches.
Oh yes, this is so my car's what I have written books about, and there are several. And Porsche 956 962 Haynes manual, still available from all good retailers, it was a labour of love. I actually got the gig because somebody else was busy doing something else, and I'd finished a book for Haynes Ferrari 312T Formula One cars, owner's manual, still available from all good bookshops, and they were very pleased with it, so they let me choose one. I did the Royal Aircraft Factory SE5A as my choice, and they went, yeah, but can you do a car one as well? So yeah, Porsche 956 962. So doing all of that and being as detailed as you have to be to write a book for Porsche people, because they are very, very, very knowledgeable. So if you're slightly off your game,
would we call them rivet counters if we were into model trains? Would that be?
Well, one doesn't like to, basically. So having learned the histories of all these cars, I decided, I've always had a few slotted 956s and 962s about the place, and I thought, I could add this one, or I could add that one. And over a number of years, they're mostly white kits, and I've got to 60, which seems like a decent, healthy number to stop with. Although there are still others that are tempting me, but no, I've got shelf space for 60. That's it. So the last one of those is one of the Hightails, which is a kit, which a very nice man called Norman in Switzerland makes decals for them. And he's currently knocking up the 1989 Donington Wheatcroft Trophy livery for a Just car. And that will be my last one.
Okay.
And it's also quite timely because it's 20 years in 2024 since Slotted released its first 956s, which were, can you remember?
The Rothman's car, surely? No.
It was the Canon and the
Kenwood.
The blue one.
Kenwood.
Yeah. The Andretti Kenwood, and from the same year, 83, the Canon Le Mans Longtails. They were the first ones, then the white kits, then the Rothmans triple set, which I did. No, I never had that. I bought one of the ones individually because one of the traders broke up lots of boxes.
Yeah, I've got the Canon, the Kenwood, and the box set, and I've run them all. So I did pause for thought when I got the box set out, but yeah, I run them all. The other, talking about Le Mans,
20 years old.
What's 20
Still
years old?
strong.
Well,
the Slotters.
And how well? I'm going to. You talk about how old. So I mean, blimey hell, SCX have just re-released the M1 for Christ's sake. So I mean, that's got to be.
Yeah, I mean, of that vintage, there's like the Scale Electric, Boss Mustang, and Camaro Trans Am cars.
But nothing beats the SCX M1. That was mid-80s, so it's coming up to 40 years old. So,
yeah, true.
And still a damn fine slot car if you can get over it. It's a little bit Tupperware. It's a little bit angular, but it goes. Doesn't break when you hit things.
Yeah, I'm stunned by watching a friend of the show, Kevin, on Instagram, as he creates wonderful things out of his. He puts Daft's wheels on them and lots of very intricate paint jobs on these very old SCX BMWs, but they look beautiful when he's done them.
No, they're a good thing.
That's the Old Man in the Shed on Instagram.
Okay, that's who that is. Right, okay, I'll follow him. In terms of other things, looking back on the year, you had a number of themes that you suggested you might want to talk about, said Scott, hoping to nudge Nick to remember, because given he's a pint into the party already.
It's a New Year's Eve party.
It's a New Year's Eve, yeah. It's a birthday party. Talking After Slot is 1 year old. 1 year and a bit.
There you go.
Yeah. There should be cake, but I frankly can't face eating anything richer than a shredded wheat. And I hate shredded wheat. So yeah, we'll not have a cake. Yeah. Do you want me to remind you some of the things you thought you would want to look like?
No. The rise of the vans is one thing that we discussed we would talk about. Vans came into their own this year. You got a Jägermeister van?
I got a Jägermeister van, which I really like. And Carrera have just launched a VW van. Yes. There are.
Is it?
I'm not an expert, and I need to. What do you call it? Bow down to Dave Slaughter, who knows more about VWs than I'll ever know about anything else. But because they're all given different T numbers, aren't they? But it looks the same as the electric one, except it's not the split window, and I may have got that wrong.
It's a bay window,
possibly. Anyway,
70s
so
one.
there are. Is it a T2? Is that what that would be called? Oh my God. I'm misremembering all sorts of things.
Bay window T2, as opposed to a splitty.
So they've just announced that's coming. I think there are 3 liveries, one of which is Germany only at the minute. There you are. Okay. Breaking news on Talking After Slot. So VW vans. Sorry, I hijacked. Having asked you to talk about something, I hijacked you. Vans, Nick. Are you good?
Vans. Well, I've got a couple. I've got a couple of Transits. I've got one which is George Turner, and I've got one which is GS3D, neither of which are finished. I'm sore tempted to the Pendle one, but it's not on my 6 cars till satisfaction. So, we'll see, because I might have to dedicate a whole new shelf, and I'm not sure I've got the shelf space to do it. Because there's things like Pendle's Austin Maxi. It's a great car for professionals collection. But is it? No, it's not warranted. So the Mark 1 that Pendle does is a petrol-powered one, whereas the Mark 1 that I got from GS3D is the diesel pig snout one, Mark 1. You see, there's all sorts of implications that can happen with transits and other such vehicles. So we've had the Chevrolet van.
Yes.
We've got a £360 Avant slot Volkswagen LT with a
Quattro,
Audi Quattro on a trailer, £360.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
All right. So, Carrera 2024 has announced the bay window Volkswagen van, the same air-cooled one, Beetle-based, as the 50s split window, but the 70s update, which is probably more familiar to people. Obviously, split window things are more popular and prettier, but the 70s one is probably the one that there's more of, so more people will relate to it and probably buy the slot car version. See the camper.
Well, I haven't. I saw some brief pictures, which I now can't. I'll try and lay my hand on for the YouTube version of this, but I haven't got them to hand, so I can't tell you exactly what it was. But I'm sure
I've seen
they'll
a red
do
one in Porsche livery.
multiple versions and liveries.
Yeah,
So I
you
mean,
need
what
a
was
pop-up roof. You need a Devon camper with a pop-up roof.
that? Devon.
Nice.
I'll let you try to explain that to our friends at Carrera. I mean, like a little figure in a vest with a hanky tied around his head.
Exactly. Yeah.
All that,
Or
all
two
that good stuff.
stressed 20-somethings with two babies, because that's what me and my missus at the time were like with our Type 2 pop-top camper. So,
I mean, I get the nostalgia. And
yeah.
the only thing I can think broadly equivalent is way back, 1995, when I was changing jobs and I wasn't going to be getting a new company car every week. So I wanted something a bit fun. And I thought, Morris Minor. So we went as far as the awful, just awful things and unsafe and all that sort of thing. And isn't much the same for old VW campers, aren't they? Like genuinely awful to drive, dangerous, small,
It's funny.
noisy.
My former father-in-law has one as well. In fact, our buses were manufactured one day after the other, and he had his from brand new. And we'd be driving round, say, Dorset countryside on these narrow roads, beautiful scenery everywhere, and he'd be like, "Oh, isn't it amazing?" And there's no traffic anywhere. And of course, you look in the mirror, and it's miles back. Everyone's sort of sitting there sweating. Oh, it's brilliant. Not a car on the road today. No, they're all behind us. But that's the way it is. And so transits, obviously, loads of them. I've got my 2, which I will finish off in the very near future. It's pure laziness because they come with chassis and interiors and everything. So.
Well, I think you're being a bit harsh on yourself. You see laziness, but I mean, practically every day you send me pictures of more progress on Escorts or Subarus or.
Yeah, it was always something.
I mean, I think you've built just to my knowledge, is you must have built
a good
10
number.
cars in the last couple of months.
Yeah, I've sort of gone at it a bit since the end of the season. There's been projects that have been bubbling away in my mind, and obviously there is a championship for rallying next year, which needs to be accounted for. So, yeah, I know.
Well, we can't talk about it.
I'm not.
We can't talk about that.
It's unfair to our regular viewer who takes a drink every time I mention. I don't know what things.
I don't know what the Canadians make of rallying, but anyway. Although, if I'm going to, given that you've now indulged, I'm just going to carry on in that indulgence and say that you very kindly, and I don't think I'm putting words in your mouth here, you very kindly offered to build me a Maestro of my Maestro rally car from 1987, I believe it was.
Yes.
And
but you will need to find a body better than the Scalextric one.
No, I've got the Scalextric one. It'll do fine.
Okay.
So, I mean, that would be, imagine the stir, the excitement, the sheer jaw-dropping, of me showing up at a round of the Slot Rally Championship with an MG Maestro. Yeah. So, I think there's at least a couple of liveries that could do this.
Staff's
wheels. Staff's wheels. The Staffs do little hot cross bud MG wheels. I don't think they do. Staffs, the special stuff.
Steve, get on the case. We've identified your new profit margin for 2024. It is MG Maestro wheels.
MG Maestro wheels. But talking about going places, that's one of the things. Looking back on the year, I've got out and about. This not having a job has its advantages. So I went to 2 different slot rallies. One in Farnborough, one in Abergavenny. I went to 2 clubs that I'd never been to before. One literally just down the road, and the other one a bit further down the road. So I met new people, which is all good stuff. And then we did both Gaydons, plus a whole load of swap meets. So it's been quite. I mean, there's been lots of getting out and going places, which is always good fun. I mean,
Well, Lawrence
for me,
and I are going to go to Swindon next weekend.
are you definitely going to go?
Yes, because
have you got your Christmas money saved up?
No, we're there to sell. We've got a table.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic! Tell me more.
Well, we've both sort of run out of funds and desperately need them. So, yeah, I've been going through and finding stuff that I can sell, which is, going to help fund the 6 cars to satisfaction.
So,
or pay the rent next month. I'm not sure.
One of the two.
Yeah.
I've never had a table at swap meet. Have you done it before?
I've shared with Alec before. I've gone on the end of dual circuits at some events. Yeah, it's always been interesting. And I've usually come away with a few quid, which I've, probably 3 or 4 quid after I've bought the stuff that I wanted to buy. So it is what it is. It's a swap meet. I take stuff. People give me beer tokens for it. I spend those beer tokens on slot cars.
Cheers. Well, we look forward to a report from the other side of the table.
Yeah,
I think it's a special edition.
Last time I was in Swindon, I had a lovely chat with George Turner because I was eyeballing his stuff, as I always do, because I love his stuff. And he just turned around to me and went, "Don't ever let anyone tell you the 70s were rubbish." And I'm like, "George, I never would." "Oh, but they were brilliant." "Oh, yeah, that's fine." No. 3 days a week, 2 days on the dole down the pub, and then weekends you can do what you want. No, the new Capri every year. I mean, yeah, it sounds idyllic. Why wasn't I there? I was that big.
He's clearly forgotten the endless brown palette on interior day, brown carpets and orange upholstery and
I love it.
Nylon
lottery,
sheets.
A brown Porsche 911. I know they call it copper. It's not copper. Oh, it's bronze, I think they call it, but it's not bronze. Yeah.
You're going to have a brown one.
Like my Matchbox one.
And which slot car company would you get to make a model of it?
Already done it. I made one from the SCX.
Oh, yeah. I was being naughty and teeing you up to go, not Scalextrics, because they'd get it wrong. Anyway, mind you, I get that pronounced it.
That was
you being... That was very uncharitable for me. I must have to take myself
Here's
off
one that's, look,
give myself a good talking to.
This is going to cause people some heartache, but here is a Gulf Porsche 911 in pieces awaiting stripping. So, yes.
Now, is that... I know they have a habit of putting all-over decals on, but is that an orange stripe on a blue painted car, or is the whole thing a decal?
No, I think the plastic's blue, but it's all-over decal. So it's going to be a horrible concretey mush to try and break off after it's spent 12 hours in meths.
So even the blue bits are just clear, or it's a decal sort of thing?
No, it's a decal blue over plastic blue, which gives you a very rich and lustrous colour if that's the car you want. But it's not the car I want. So,
and what are you going to transform?
I'm going to turn it into one of the cars.
Fairy Godmother, as it's Panto season, Fairy Godmother like. what are you going to turn this Cinderella of a Porsche into?
It's going to be tomato red. And it's going to be a car that was on the... No, it's going to be a car that was on the FIA European Historic Rally Championship this year. Because, I mean, there's not so many uses for a 911 RSR, but one of them was used as a rally car this year. And I think this might be quite punchy if you're looking for a decent Scalextric car to compete in those events with, which I'm not going to mention because I don't want our listeners to get drunk as they take a drink when we mention certain things. And
is that a thing? Do they really? That would be worrying if that's going to be. If they could drink every time we mention rallying, they would be.
I know.
maybe
every time I
encouraging
mention
also
Slot Rally, or
alcoholism.
every time I mention Gwyndaf Evans, good Lord, they're going to get plastered now.
Ah, there you go. That took a while. That was well in.
It did. But yeah, apparently people are taking a drink now every time we mention some things. So yeah, there we go. 2 in 1. Good luck. Happy New Year, boys.
So probably we should stop looking back. Although,
Yes.
why not? We're old. That's what we do best. Things are always better in the past. Anyway, we should stop looking back.
Well, we're talking about 2023, so it's not that bad.
Looking forward briefly, or not that briefly. What are you looking forward to? What I'm avoiding doing is what's your favourite car and what's your worst car, or what's your most disappointing car. But there you are, I've mentioned it now. I'm putting you on the spot.
I haven't been
What was your most
disappointed by anything
disappointing
that I've got, in all honesty.
That's interesting.
Not that I have actually bought much. I've built quite a lot. So my favourite thing would be my 2 Escort Airfix kit conversions, because they are completely ground up me. So I like them for that. And they, like the hours I spent trying to get the stance right, so it didn't look. I know, and shaving little bits of axle off to get just the right. I know it's.
It's
not really slot racing, is it?
Chassis shaving. We used to be
I
a thing
chassis
on this
shaving,
program.
I was actual
chassis shaving. But actual shaving. That's harder to say somehow or other.
That's something I'm looking forward to in 2024 is finishing off my James Bond collection. Then I can do some chassis shaving.
I don't know why I find that so funny, but I do. Chassis shaving.
So I've got, for example, a Scalextric DBS Aston Martin, and the door is being dremeled off that, and lots of bullet holes are being put on it to make it the one from the Quantum of Solace. I've got my George Turner Sunbeam Alpine, which is painted. The figure's all painted. Everything's sort of there. I just haven't got around to putting it together. And the big one is the Goldfinger Rolls Royce. That will be a challenge, but it's it's a very old, I think it's Aurora kit called a Rolls Royce Town Car, which just is the Goldfinger Rolls Royce sold with a thing painted red and black on the box lid. So mine will be yellow and black with some sort of chassis shaved beneath it.
And we'll have a tiny odd job to drive it.
I want a tiny odd job to drive it. I'm hoping that one of the 3D suppliers is going to print off an odd job. You can get all sorts of things. Michael Knight's just come out as a 3D printed figure for those passionate enough about their kit and car models to want a Michael Knight figure. And the track is going to be the big thing for next year for me, I think. So I'm looking very hard at Magnetic Racing and their terraced houses, because obviously it's going to be a professionals track. It was something to make a 1/32 scale gasometer, because there's always a gasometer. It was the one in Southall, which is long since gone, is the one that was used in the professionals all the time.
I'm sure if you sent the guys some photographic references, they would probably rise to that challenge. I mean, it can't be any harder than that giant Ferris wheel that they've just done.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And there's also the Route Master buses. So when I was at Gaydon, there was a chap selling 1/32 scale Route Master buses in tin plate. I need some of those, so you can weave in and out of them.
So have you been tempted? Because somebody did once do an Italian job, 3 minis with a bus, and the minis could drive in the back, didn't they? That was quite spectacular.
Chase Cars did it, didn't it?
I don't know who did it. I can remember watching it, doing it.
I miss Chase Cars. He clearly didn't sell enough of his wondrous products, but they were wondrous products.
I just remember watching it at one of the Gaydon events thinking, that's cool. And that was an awful lot of work. And then being disappointed they had actually sort of skidding it off the edge of the table and had it balancing. No, I wasn't really. I'm joking.
One of my 6 cars from Satisfaction is...
I I think, as well as being a T-shirt, just 6 cars from Satisfaction. I think the very act of defining which cars they are is, I think that's impossible, really, because.
Well, I need to get Pendle's Zodiac kit, and I might get that this week with the last of my Christmas money from my dearly beloved mother. Because so far she hasn't bought me any slot cars with that. I bought a Sopwith Camel kit and some books. And there's a little bit left over, which will probably cover a Ford Zodiac to complete my Ipcrest file pair with the white MGB driven by Major Dolby.
There is no movie stroke TV series of British culture which Nick is not recreating in 1/32 sales slot cars.
Well, I'll tell you what, because I've got 2 Austin Princesses and neither of them are Terry and Junes. So...
Do you know how some of the American and Australian, some of our overseas listeners struggle to understand what we're talking about? This is one of those cases. What the hell's an Austin Princess and who are Terry and June? And,
in fact, it shouldn't be an Austin Princess, should it? It should just be a princess. It was never an Austin or a Morris. It was just a princess.
Was it? Even that's true. No, it wasn't. I would have argued.
There you go. Look, I'm in the dark. My battery's
XBL PR man about to argue with you about the branding on princesses. Anyway, if your lights are going out, as it were, that's probably a sign that we probably should wrap up.
Are we close to wrapping up time?
Well, we can be, because I think we've, as the listeners may know if they've got this far, we had a bit of a technical glitch about 20 minutes ago. So you'll probably be able to see possibly not. Let's not overpromise.
Well, you can just
if there's a small
lyrics.
If there's a small musical interlude. That's possibly how we're going to do it. Cool. So, all right. Well, I think we probably should, because otherwise we'll get into. I don't think we can improve on Terry and June. And we've already talked about going to Swindon and spending money on that. So that's only a week. In fact, it's a week today, isn't it? A week. So we are actually recording this on New Year's Eve UK time. So if you're listening to it any time before midnight, it's been a miracle of processing it.
And pure professionalism in the delivery.
No, yeah, as ever the prefer. So that's one. So anyway, time to wrap up. Have you any words of wisdom or encouragement for our listeners that you want to pass on this eve of the year?
I would say don't be disheartened by the colour of your slot cars. You can always repaint them, and have a very, very happy time. And I hope you get all the stuff that you want in the year ahead.
That's a very philosophical. I'm sure the recipients of the Gus Greensmith Puma will take that to heart. Anyway, sorry, that was the third time I did it. Shouldn't do it today. Anyway, as we said, this is birthday. I started this a year ago, and at the time I thought, that's probably enough to talk about, maybe once a month, something like that. And here we are on, officially show 49, but I forgot to number a couple of them, and so it probably is one a week on average. Which some might say that says a lot about how we can just talk rubbish about nothing at the drop of a microphone. I'd like to say it's because I think we're in something of a sort of golden era. I don't think there's ever been as many models from as many makers of as many different kinds of slot car, all of which are pretty good quality, run out the box or when you assemble them. I know they're not perfect, some of them, but I think
none of them are Skoda Felicia kit cars.
None of them.
So this should be somebody's New Year's resolution in 2024 is the Skoda Felicia kit car. Please.
There you go. On that plea, we shall leave you. So if you're a new listener, welcome. If you've stuck with us from the very beginning, campaign medals are being struck. And if you see one of us at Swindon, we'll happily hand them out. So till next time, thanks for listening. Have a happy new year, and we'll see you soon.
Take care, everyone. Have a fun night.